What is up, everybody? I'm Elliott Delp. This is Sparky, and today we're going to be going over my ideal home defense setup. The idea and kind of philosophy behind this video is we get a lot of DMs. You know, preferences have changed over the last few years in terms of what we like to see on our rifles and on our pistols and how we like to have things set up. So I thought it'd be good to make this video for you guys to kind of show you what I'm running on a kind of home defense slash do most of everything build for me, and kind of give you guys my thoughts, opinions, and show you what I like to use. So before we dive into that, we do need to give a big thank you to Primary Arms, as they helped me load this thing out and set this thing up. So big thank you to Primary Arms. So there's a disclaimer there. We also need to give a big thank you to the people that keep the lights on. Big thank you to True Shot. They keep the ammo here on the channel. So big thank you to them. If you want to go check them out, head on over to basementoperator.com/links. They're the biggest supporter of ammo here on the channel. We also have to give a big thank you to TacPack. TacPack is a monthly subscription service that basically sends you all kinds of cool goodies on a monthly basis. You can get, stocks there. You can get, knives, t-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. So big thank you to TacPack. If you want to go check them out, head on over to basementoperator.com/links there at the very top. And if you use code DELP, it'll give you a free goodie bag. All right, Sparky. So like we previously mentioned, this is my home defense setup. Now, some of this stuff doesn't directly correlate because I do use this for a lot of other things. And when we mention stuff, I'll kind of caveat that. The idea with this one was to be a sub $1,500 gun for the home defense aspect of it. So as we're going through this, I'll kind of caveat, what we use for home defense and what other things I might add just, willy-nilly. So we're going to start this thing off, and note that the suppressor and the PEC are not part of that $1,500 price point. Obviously. This pushes the build out a lot more to probably, if I had to guess, $4,000. So the idea with this is we wanted to keep a shorter platform, maybe not have, a 16-inch barrel or something like that, something that's a little bit more easier to maneuver. Granted, a home defense rifle can be 16-inch, but ideally...
Home defense is what you use in the home. So
yeah.
It's whatever you can grab the quickest.
Exactly. This is just my preference. So I went with a 10.3 Expo Arms cold hammer forged barrel. The reason I went with that one is because of price point. It was a little bit less expensive. I believe it was $100, give or take. Now, we haven't been able to get the best accuracy in the world out of it, but in terms of, just slinging rounds, it's done very good. We were able to get about 2.5 MOA, give or take, out of the groupings that we got out of it. And I think that's acceptable for a close range, close quarters scenario.
Because that's not what this gun's meant to do.
Yeah,
it's meant for a man-sized target at 20 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the max.
And that's how, when I set this thing up, that was the idea behind it. So for the gas system, we had a Sons of Liberty Gunworks gas block, which is, they make some really great stuff. It is a pistol length gas system. And then we have a Midwest Industries rail. Sparky, do you have anything you want to talk about on the Midwest Industries rail? What do you think of it?
I was a big fan of it. I like it. Already comes with some, some cutie points on it. I like the cuts on it. The M-lock is great. You got, you got
all corners.
You got all corners. It covers everything. So if you need a light or whatever you're choosing,
however you need to mount it.
However you need to mount the light, whatever angle you need, you can do it. Which is nice. Most shorter ones like this, you don't see that.
No, and it gives a lot of options, especially with a PEC up here. That takes up some space. If it can't mount, directly at the 3 o'clock or the 9 o'clock or whatever it is, you can maybe cant it down a little bit more and it still be on this side of the firearm.
Exactly,
so,
especially depending on what mounting system you decide to go with.
And that's one of the reasons why I went with the Midwest Industries rail. It's just really solid, a rail system. We have, them marked right here to make sure the screws don't move. And then we have a Meteorite Concepts hand stop. This is not out on the market yet. The guys down at Meteorite Concepts, they're awesome. They let me test it out, and it's been big fan, pretty sweet little hand stop. In terms of light setup, what we did here, we think lights are very valuable in terms of every type of home defense setup. So we have a Streamlight ProTac. This thing runs about $100 to $150, give or take. Yeah. And I mean, it's a lights out light in terms of it being just very reliable. And it's not bulky, it's not big, it does the job.
It's bang for buck. And if you're wondering why I have a light, you need to be able to identify your target.
being
You need
able
to identify if it's a threat or not. So you got to have a light.
especially in your home, I think that's very crucial.
Yeah, because
so.
you need to know
Unless
where that
you're-
bullet's going.
Unless you're running nods and a PEC, you know, light's very important. Moving back from the light setup, we obviously have a PEC, and then this is just a normal PEC 15, nothing crazy.
Just a PEC 15.
It's not like it's brand new or anything. No. In terms of the receiver set, we went with a Spike Tactical. I don't know why I said strike.
He's fiending for a Sammy right about now.
I am fiending for a Sammy. So a Spike upper and Spike lower. We went on just a matching set. They were pretty cheap if I remember correctly, like $100 each. So not a lot. I think actually the Spike lower might be more or less. I think it was like $50.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, pretty good deal. Bolt carrier group was a BCM. We decided to go with that because we have had some very good luck with our BCM stuff. We rely on them a lot, and we think that they're very dependable and a very well-made company. Yes. So it's one of the things I really like about it. And then we also did a BCM lower parts kit. Runs perfectly fine in terms of, you know, the trigger, just a mil-spec trigger, nothing crazy. Safety, good audible clicks on the safety. And then, of course, you know we have to have a Raptor Radiant LT charging handle. One of the staples in a lot of mine, Sparky's builds. We love the Raptor.
I'm a Radiant everything kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that...
Once you get used to it, you don't want to go back.
Yeah, you never want to change up from it. They're just really a lights out company in terms of charging handles. And, you know, if you have the extra money to invest in them, it is worth it. And I think you will see a return, at least personally, I have. Optics. So this is a part of... you know, I feel one way about it, Sparky feels another way. I'm a big fan of red dots. So I have a HoloSun 403C on it. It is like a $200 HoloSun, and I really like a red dot. It's just a personal preference of mine. Sparky, tell us what you be a fan of.
I would maybe lean towards a prism optic, just because of the fact that if this is specifically for home defense, and if you're gonna have it stored, you know, in an easy to get to yet secure location, and it doesn't come out all the time, unless you're super diligent about changing your batteries, I would really hate for you to put all your eggs in this one basket and pull it out and the battery be dead. But if you're doing the proper maintenance and swapping the batteries pretty consistently, which is cheap, but if you're okay with spending the $10 or less for a couple years worth of batteries and diligent about swapping them out, go with the red dot. I have no problem with it. But I think a prism, if you're less likely to swap the batteries out on it, and you want a little more peace of mind of not having to worry about the maintenance on it, go with the prism. That's the caveat to that, why I would go with a prism, just because you don't have to worry about the batteries.
Yeah, one of the reasons I value the red dot over prism is because despite, you know, even getting a 1X prism, I still think there's a little bit of magnification to it.
It's a little distortion with both eyes open.
It's a little bit harder to acquire for me personally, and I think it really comes down to how people like to run their optics and what optics people feel comfortable with.
You might want something less busy like this, where it's just a dot.
Yeah, and so it really comes down to what you're used to, how you like to shoot, and then how you're comfortable in terms of what you're seeing. You shoot one eye or two eyes open, however it works for you.
And even for an across the room setup, are you really using the optic?
Oh gosh.
Watch the bees. But like we could also be diving way too much into this, because for across the room setup, how much are you really utilizing the optic?
Yeah.
If it's from me to the camera, I'm pointing and pressing. I don't know if I don't know how quickly I'm like, oh, let me get, you know.
Muscle memory should take into you know, into effect, because you know you should be training, you should be shooting these firearms a lot.
So if you're holding it the same way every time and bringing it up,
and
you get to a point where you can just point press and you're at least going to hit the target.
Yeah.
At that, you know, 10 yards ish.
So moving on from that, we have a new pistol brakes here on this one. This one is an SBA 5 pistol brace. I really like them. They did a good job. Miles better than the SBA 4. They have the QD point here on the back. A really nice.
It's a little bit more sturdy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a really big fan of it. This is one of the things that I was really looking forward to when testing this one out, because this is the first one I have of this type of brace. I have a lot of SBA 3s, a lot of SBA 4s, but I was very pleasantly surprised and pleased with this one right here. And then last but not least, sling. So this sling that we have here is an HRT tactical sling. This one is one of the ones with the padding in it. I've been a really big fan of it. HRT makes some awesome stuff. And when they made the sling,
It's like, oh yeah, give it to it.
we got to test it out and try it. And I've been very pleased with the setup. I also like Edgar Sherman slings. Those are also really nice slings. Sparky, you run a lot of Magpul ones.
I got Troy, so you got options.
Yeah, and slings are very important. I think they're a valuable asset to have on a setup.
Because in that home defense situation, you might not need to have that rifle at the ready the entire time.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to be able to go hands-free if you had to grab your child and go to a safer room. You're gonna need somewhere to put that thing. So just being able to sling it down and do whatever you need to do with your hands, it's a good thing to think about.
Another thing we should talk about, Sparky, is suppressors.
You don't want to get a concussion?
No. So these aren't necessarily a must-have in the home defense build, but I do think they are very important. And if you have the funds, you should look at getting a suppressor. In terms of the benefits of suppressor, obviously sound reduction, but also flash reduction. I know
that concussion of blast.
Exactly. There's a lot of stuff going on, the big bang, and suppressors really cut back on that concussive force, and of course flash. Now flash hider, that'll do it too, but it's not the same as even a mini little K suppressor that we have right here. This is a dead air.
You still know the gun's going off, and whoever you're shooting at knows the gun's going off, but it's a little bit more of, it's not as harsh. Like I said, everybody's gonna know a gun went off, but it's just a little bit more pleasant, which in a life or death situation, it shouldn't matter. But it is a little bit of a quality of life thing that I would consider if you got the money, like you said.
Especially when you're training with it too.
Oh yeah, because could you imagine being out here shooting down a hallway with just that, with a 3-prong brake with no ear pro? Woo.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be fun. But it's a life or death situation, so.
I think this is kind of my ideal setup in terms of my home defense, grabbing, going. We hadn't really touched on this. This is chambered in 5.56. Sparky.
You could, if you want to go specifically, if you're worried about if you want to dive into the over penetration and a little bit more knockdown, but we're talking about a target at 20 yards. So you can weigh the pros and cons of 300 blackout or 223.
Or even 9mm.
Or even 9mm. I would maybe
a PCC.
I'd probably prefer that option.
Yeah.
Over 223, and then 300 blackout because of cheaper to shoot and easier to suppress.
Right.
But they're both easy to suppress.
But this also doubles as, my nighttime gun. It also doubles as, just something I enjoy shooting, something that I find fun in. Because we often have a purpose for a lot of our guns. You can have guns that you just enjoy shooting. That's a real thing.
And it can have a specific purpose, but we're going to tweak it in this certain situation because we like to shoot it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is my setup. Once again, I ran this thing. The total price of the gun, minus the PEC and the suppressor, comes in at about $1,500. I didn't want to go, high, blow it out the water with $2,500 gun, but I also didn't want to go the sub $1,000 mark because I really found value in a lot of the the really nice rail.
Because you didn't necessarily settle.
Yeah,
you didn't settle on anything.
Yeah, so there's that. If you have any interest in figuring out exactly every single part on this thing, maybe go check out Basement Operator. There you can find a lot of cool stuff like that, and also find links to all the people that support us on the channel, as well as all kinds of cool merch there.
Stickers.
Yeah, stickers, links to Sparky's OnlyFans. And also go check us out on Instagram and give us a follow there. Go comment down below what you think, what you would change the rifle, and we'll see.
What are we wrong about?
Yeah, what are we wrong about? And we'll see you guys on the next one. As always, take someone outdoors. Peace.
Bye, Mom.
Maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, we need lunch. I'm starting to get hungry thoughts.